Hello and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorehead, an exclusive podcast by Direct Selling News designed to provide direct selling corporate executives timely insights and relevant takeaways to help grow and evolve your businesses. In today's episode, host Wayne Moorehead is joined by John Parker, Chief Sales Officer and Regional President West of the legendary company Amway. The Amway name is widely recognized as a pioneer in direct selling. Founded in 1959 by Rich DeVos and J. Van Andel, the company has ranked number one on the DSN Global 100 list for 9 consecutive years, with $8.5 billion in revenue recognized on this year's 2021 list. Well known for its artistry and Nutrilite brands, today Amway operates in over 100 countries and territories around the world, and in 2021, Forbes Magazine ranked it as the 49th largest publicly held company in the U.S. based on revenue. A 29-year veteran of the industry, John Parker became part of the Amway legacy in 1993 when he joined as a Distributor Relations Sales Manager straight out of college. He has spent his entire career with Amway, and today, as Chief Sales Officer and Regional President West, he is responsible for the company's global sales strategy and operations, and oversees distributor incentives and recognition, field leadership development, and global training and education. He also has P&L responsibilities in 7 global Amway markets, and is on the U.S. Direct Selling Association Board and Executive Committee, where he served 2 terms as chairman. On today's episode, John and Wayne cover a lot of territory, like how the direct sales industry is changing and what that means for both companies and its distributors, the importance of diversity and inclusion, the value of work-life integration, how the growing gig economy is affecting direct selling today, and what John believes is the best way to create a dynamic environment that attracts the next generation of leaders and sellers. But before we dive into the interview, we want to invite you to join the new DSN VIP community. The VIP community is a new way for direct selling executives to keep up with what's happening in the channel with the convenience of text. Simply text the word JOIN to 214-239-3043 and follow the prompts to add DSN as a contact in your phone. There's no separate app to download. It literally shows up in your phone's text messages. And the best part is that you get to choose what type of news and stories you want to receive, and DSN will create a custom news feed just for you. Never miss out on what's happening in the channel again. Text us at 214-239-3043 and join the DSN VIP community today. Now, a word from our sponsor.
The influence of social media is undeniable. On average, people spend over 2 hours a day connecting with family, friends, and brands across social media. But did you know that it's also the way that most consumers prefer to discover new products? In fact, over 60% of people say they discover new products on Instagram. Additionally, Forbes reports that 78% of salespeople using social selling outsell their peers. To compete in today's marketplace, you must capitalize on your most valuable asset, your social media influencers. Introducing Now Social, the smartest way to effectively grow and monetize your network. Just as we revolutionize the way distributors share content, offer samples, and sell products, we're now bringing the same innovation to social selling. Now Social simplifies the process of creating and scheduling content and allows you to manage posts and engagements across all platforms. And even if your distributors have never attempted social selling before, Now Social empowers anyone in your field to become a successful micro-influencer. As more and more consumers turn to social media to connect with brands and discover new products, it's more important than ever to have the most effective social selling strategy. What are you waiting for? Your time is now.
And now, please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorehead, and today's guest, John Parker, Chief Sales Officer and Regional President West of Amway.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorehead, and I'm very honored to be joined today by somebody that I've really admired and looked up to throughout my direct selling career, and that is Amway's Chief Sales Officer and Region President West, John Parker. John, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Wayne. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, again, really appreciate it. I know you're super busy, but appreciate you taking the time to jump on, especially during this holiday week. So thank you. So I know that everyone in direct selling is obviously familiar with Amway. It's the largest company in the channel, and that's globally determined by revenue. And I would love if you could, though, just to take a couple of minutes to share a little bit about the background of the company and the path that led you to Amway.
Sure. So Amway was founded, like many direct selling businesses, by, in this case, two friends, Rich DeVos and Andel, in 1959, who were direct sellers themselves for a different company. And they had some ideas about starting a business up on their own, and they did. That was sort of the beginning of Amway as a business. And when they started the business, they really saw an opportunity to innovate in some ways that were very centered around ensuring that the distributors for Amway at that point in time were more at the center of the way in which the company made decisions, and really thinking about it from a perspective of supporting those distributors and partnering with them more effectively. And so it was actually then some years later that Amway purchased the company that Rich and Jay started as distributors, Neutralite. And then from there, they expanded the business around the country and around the world. My journey to Amway is not a very interesting one. I was a couple years out of college in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and met some people in the community that worked at Amway and thought that I would be a good fit with Amway's culture as an employee. And so I had the opportunity to meet a few different people at Amway. A job came open, I interviewed for it, and got hired 5 or so months later. And I started at an entry-level position, sort of it was kind of a cross between a customer service role and a role in the sales support department, and really learned the business kind of from the ground up.
The company does have such an amazing and rich legacy. And I love hearing stories of people that come in kind of at that entry level and work their way up to the top. It does so much for culture, so much to have people with that historical and institutional knowledge there, but it lets everyone in the company know, and the distributors as well, that, if you work hard and you deliver, that you get rewarded in advance. Again, I think on the distributor side and the employee side as well. I love seeing stories like that. Congrats on your success.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's just been, an amazing opportunity for me as well. We always talk about how our businesses are about the success and development of our, representatives. But as you pointed out, there's also that opportunity and development for employees as well. And, I think there's so many of us that really have benefited from the environment that we've been in, the people we've been around, and the opportunities that we've had to learn and grow and make mistakes and learn from them and develop in our businesses as well.
Absolutely. I've been really looking forward to this conversation because I do think you bring such unique perspective. You've spent literally your entire career in the direct selling channel and have had the opportunity to operate at the highest levels and really own sales for the largest direct selling company in the world. So I think there's going to be so many great insights you're able to share today and such a great perspective. And I'd love to kind of start out by kind of looking back and discuss a little bit some of the learning, some of the dynamics that you've experienced over your career in direct selling, and then shift to kind of look forward of where you see the channel going and where the opportunities there are. But as you think back on your career, starting out, 20 some years ago there, the direct selling landscape has changed quite a bit over the course of your career. In your opinion, from your perspective, what are some of the most significant ways that environment has changed?
It's a great question, Wayne. If you would have told me, I'm in my 29th year at Amway, if you would have told me, when I first started, that, these are the kind of changes that will take place in the marketplace around direct selling. And how do you think the industry will be able to adapt? I don't think I could have gotten my head around it. As we think about whether it's the digital revolution or the impact that entrepreneurship and evolving kind of forms of entrepreneurship have had in the marketplace, the gig economy most recently, but also the convergence of different approaches to entrepreneurship, very dynamic consumer expectations, and how that's played out over time. And then sort of the evolution of how brands and businesses think about and engage in community dynamics as well. It's interesting because while I think so many of those changes over time have turned into tailwinds for our industry, I think on the front end of many of those changes in the marketplace, they felt like headwinds. And getting past sort of the superficial explanation of, use gig as an example. Gosh, that's the marketplace coming in our direction as direct sellers. Well, yes and no. I think you can look at it that way, but as I think we've all seen, what makes our industry so unique is the fact that we are companies and communities of entrepreneurs who have the ability and frankly the desire to be able to adapt and adjust to a changing marketplace and a changing environment. And it's been those changes and our ability not just to adapt, but to develop the skill set and frankly the ingredient inside of our recipe of success in our businesses of embracing changes and adapting our businesses and the way in which we support our entrepreneurs and the way in which they support their customers and their communities, that's created a dynamic where I think we've developed that muscle as an industry to be able to continuously improve and take advantage of whether it's new technology, new consumer expectations, even new entrepreneurial sort of experiences in communities, that really is proving that our ongoing ability to adapt is a strength and one that we're going to continue to lean on as the marketplace continues to change and change faster than it did in the past.
So you talked a little bit about how that consumer focus has been a significant change over the course of your career. You've been on the front lines with the sales organization, really working hand in hand. How has that relationship changed between corporate and the distributor, or has there been a significant adjustment there?
Yeah, I think it has evolved. Like any relationship, Wayne, I think, we learn from the experiences we have. And frankly, we learn from the mistakes that we make and the successes that we experience as well. I think that one of the evolutions that I've seen in the dynamic of the partnership that we have with our independent business owners in Amway is very much around the shared responsibility we have towards the success of our newest IBOs and the satisfaction of the customers that we all serve. And, I think going back decades, it was more about sort of the company's role versus, the IBO's role. And I think we've evolved to a place where, we've matured in our understanding of what long-term success in the market requires. And it requires delighted customers and successful, engaged, profitable new representatives. And our approach to sort of working together and partnering with our IBO leadership to really recognize the shared responsibility we have to create both that experience for customers that meets and exceeds their expectation, and likewise the success and development and momentum for our newest IBOs, that it's us working together, not us sort of staying in our lanes. It really is about how we, as a company, look for sort of agility and new ideas and innovation from the field, and how the field can count on those of us at the company that work most closely with them to support what they're doing and bring to them, whether it's best practices or new content or obviously compelling new product, but support those communities and those experiences that at the end of the day, consumers and customers are going to be really clear about how we're doing, and they're going to tell us with their purchasing decisions. And there's a lot that consumers expect today that they didn't expect in the past. And there's been times where as an industry we've been able to lead in those areas, and then there's been times where I think we've done a good job as an industry recognizing that other parts of the economy are teaching us things, and we've had to adapt and move together. And I think that no matter how big any direct selling organization is, having that ongoing conversation and understanding with your field is critical to maintaining success in the future.
Shared responsibility. I love that. I do think that is such an important concept, and it has been such a significant change. I know, when I started out about 20 years ago, those lanes were really clear, and the lines separating those lanes were really bright. Working with many field leaders and distributors, they really did not want us involved in contacting and communicating with their customers, with their independent distributors. And I think you're right. Over time, the expectations of the consumer and all of us have changed to where we need more handholding. There's more opportunities for engagement, for communication. There's more touch points with brands, with products. And I think it actually kind of goes both ways as well. While they've allowed us to kind of come into their world a little bit more and help manage the long-term relationship with their customers and their independent business owners, we've also kind of allowed them to come in on the brand side and help to market it even more. Before, it was kind of their responsibility to really focus on the product, and corporate kind of focused more on the brand building. And now it's true that our customers and our independent business owners really do own the brand, and they have such a unique way of marketing it. And so we have to take a mindset of fixed and flexible. There are these elements of a brand that are really fixed, that shouldn't be changing. But now they're few and far between, and we need to give the tools to our distributors, our independent business owners, to really get out there and build the brand as well and market. We used to go through, and I'm sure you did as well there at Amway, but really rigorous approval processes for marketing materials, for videos, for all these different marketing or ad assets. And now the life cycle of these assets are so short, we can't get our hands or our eyeballs on these anymore. We just really need to kind of create those guardrails and just really empower and unleash these distributors to go out and build the brand and to acquire customers and distributors. And so I do think it's been really interesting as we've come closer together, letting each other kind of, into each other's worlds more, and have found that so much more effective. And so much more engaging for everyone in that process.
Yeah, well said, Wayne. And I think we've seen that happen alongside a marketplace that is really receptive to that. At the end of the day, the brands that consumers view as being truly genuine are the brands that I think are able to really add value to people's lives in a way that's unique. And what makes direct selling, I think, such a powerful channel and business opportunity is the fact that our people, our independent business owners, actually are a part of the brand. They themselves bring it to the marketplace in a way that, their stories and their experiences and the value that they add to customers is so compelling that it actually makes our brand stronger. And while typical CPG companies may talk about sort of user-generated content, I feel like for us, it actually goes beyond that. It's, it is user-generated, but it's user-generated, reality of what the experience and the brand actually is. And that's where that community dynamic becomes so powerful, because it's not just a story, it then becomes an experience. And when it becomes a shared experience in the context of a community of like-minded people, and there actually is, that type of development or, positive impact on an individual, whether it's through a product or through our opportunities, and people experience and feel that, then the brand becomes genuine and becomes, as you said, sort of ingrained in the community and the group in a way that really is, I think, what the marketplace has seen and in many places is demanding today. And I think that's why we're so well positioned for the future.
Absolutely. And the community has kind of become the center or source for truth for so many of us. We're less trusting of companies, we're less trusting of organizations and institutions, and more are looking to peers and those in our circle of influence for advice, for product recommendations, for guidance. And so that's why that community is so important. It's so effective. And to your point too, the marketing needs to be authentic. We as consumers can easily sniff out inauthenticity now. Things seem so canned, so baked, so overproduced. But hearing it from a member of your community, someone that you trust and respect, or that's a step or two removed, just makes that marketing so much more effective and authentic, I think. And so, yeah, that community marketing is such an important part of our everyday lives now, in and out of direct selling.
Absolutely, Wayne. And I think where we see it at its best, in our business, and I know in other direct selling businesses as well, is when the conversation actually starts with the customer and they ask, the IBO or the representative, boy, you look great. You seem to have more energy, or you're more fit, or, you've lost weight. What are you doing? Right. And it's not the sales representative starting the conversation. In fact, it's them responding to, something that's personally noticed, by that customer or potential customer. And the conversation is just more real. As you said, that authenticity is something that is, real. And you're exactly right. Boy, do people sniff it out when it's not real. And I think that's frankly the challenge we all have going forward, is how we keep it real.
Absolutely. And I think you just touched on another really important change or dynamic, and that is really looking to the customer first, somebody that's had a product experience, as the prospect, instead of going directly and finding somebody that's interested solely in the opportunity and the income. Somebody that's had an amazing product experience because of that authenticity, the believability, that they're the best ones to share the product and then to bring others into that community. Again, someone I know always says that the best distributors come from the best customers. And I think that's been another really important shift as well, that customer focus and that shift in the way that our members prospect.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen that develop over time across the industry. And while I think that certainly is a truth that holds true across all of our businesses, it also puts an appropriate amount of pressure on us as companies to ensure that the product that we're bringing to the marketplace is unique and differentiated, and, as I like to say, only available from Amway. That, in our case, we're not selling product that you can get off a retail store. That, in fact, the differentiation that we have an accountability to the marketplace is also, as you just said, that's connected back to the experience then that our IBOs create for customers. And then from that, the business grows, because satisfied customers lead to more IBOs, and that creates an opportunity to find more customers as well. And it's sort of that virtuous cycle that really, I think, starts with the responsibility the company has to ensure that the portfolio and brands that we bring to the business are compelling and differentiated and on trend.
Absolutely. And provide value. I think product is one of the fastest ways to provide value or utility to a customer. And then again, they can transition into the distributor role and build up income and see those checks coming in and see value that way. But product is probably the fastest way to show them value, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, I think, usually that first experience of the value that any individual has that touches our business, usually as a customer first, as you said. And then we also obviously have that unique element of the value provided by the community as well, and all that delivers. And it's that combination of that collective experience that creates the that depth of loyalty and value, as you said, that we have that shared responsibility to deliver to the marketplace.
Absolutely. So the tenure for C-level execs is continuing to decrease. I think the average is now about 3 years now, and for certain roles, it's even less than that. Yeah, you've spent your entire career at Amway. What have you loved most about this approach to your career, about being at that one place and able to kind of, dig deep for a long period of time there?
It's so interesting, Wayne, because on one hand, I can't really compare it to a different experience because this is the only one I've had.
Sure.
But I've been so fortunate in my career because Amway has afforded me the opportunity, while it's been in a single company, to have many different experiences and be challenged in a place where I've had to grow and develop every day to be successful. I've spent about half my career in headquarters roles. I've spent about half my career in market roles. But through that whole time, whether it was in sales or marketing or general management, I've always understood, because our owners and the people that have mentored me along the way have continuously reminded me of the importance of staying connected to the field. For us and our businesses, we recognize that we have responsibility, internally and leading our teams and, those roles that we play as corporate leaders. But, the way I tend to think about it, our headquarters are in Ada, Michigan, but I really think of our business being everywhere except Ada, Michigan. The company's there, but
Sure.
The business is everywhere else. So, I get antsy when I'm, at headquarters too long. I really find that I thrive and, draw energy from and grow and learn when I'm actually in the business with our leaders, with their organizations, with customers, understanding what's working, what's not working, what they need us to be better at, and what things we're doing well that they need us to continue doing well. And so as I think about my career, while, on paper it may look like a fairly sort of one-dimensional, one company experience, our company has transformed pretty significantly over that period of time. I've had the opportunity to live and work in different places in the world, and certainly travel on a really regular basis. And one of the great experiences of my life has been to be able to experience different cultures and people and understand how the value that our businesses bring to the market, while there may be uniquenesses in different markets that we adapt to, of course, based on consumer needs, the big values of our business do transcend cultures, and people's desire for entrepreneurship and willingness to work hard and a focus on satisfying customers and a dynamic of working together is something that holds true around the world. I think of our business at Amway and our industry as not being an individual sport, but being a team sport. And it's fun to be a part of a team. It's tough when we're not winning, but it's a great feeling when we are winning. And I think that spirit of collaboration and teamwork and camaraderie is really a wonderful part of our careers.
Absolutely. Really is fortunate that you were able to get that level of variety in roles and responsibilities in geographies at one company. I think it really goes such a long way in helping develop, each of us when we get a role like that as a person, as a leader, as a manager. And I'm now kind of getting to the age and stage in my career where I have people coming up and asking me for career advice. And one of the things they always ask me is kind of this question that we're discussing right now. Do I stay at one place for a long time, or do I shift to another company? And I think what you said really illustrates the point there. And the answer is it depends. If you're getting these incredible growth opportunities at a single company, then I would say stay, grow and develop with the company, build up that institutional and historical knowledge within the organization that is so valuable beyond any skill set you might have and might develop. But if you're not getting a lot of these opportunities to grow and develop, that's when I would look to go somewhere else. I know that was really critical in my career. I got a chance to, be a CMO probably years before I would have at the company that I was at. And it was one of the most pivotal roles, I think, in my career from a learning perspective. I was able to work with incredible people. Luckily joined a company that experienced incredible growth. So got these amazing opportunities that I was, and have been able to leverage throughout my career. But there is something about, helping build a culture, build a foundation, and being with the company all those years that is such a huge advantage to a career as well. Any thoughts on that? Did I kind of share the same advice you would, or would you do it a little bit differently?
I think that's exactly right, Wayne. I think it's dependent, it's situational. And I think it also, different people have a different perspective in terms of how they're feeling at a given moment in time. Kind of building on what you said, I think it also goes both ways too, where, in the times of my career where I've been maybe the least motivated or, struggling the most or questioning things the most, some of the advice I got was looking back at myself and asking, am I giving enough back to the organization? Am I acting in a way that's making things better or making things worse? And how is it that I can be more effective in contributing to my peers, contributing, as you said, to the culture of the organization, which is so critical. And in those moments where I had sort of a woe is me kind of reaction, once I got to the other side of it and recognized, maybe the most productive step forward for me would be to take the focus off myself for a moment and think about how I can contribute more to the team or give more to this project or this initiative, or maybe stop complaining and listen more about what the people around me, our IBOs, their customers, my peers, what are they saying, and how can I take what I'm hearing from them and have a positive influence on them? And I do think that you're right. There are times in people's career where, what the right step is going to be to step out of the organization you're in and take on some new challenges. I also think there's the opportunity, if people choose to stay at the companies they're at, to embrace new challenges, even if you're in the same role, to reach out to peers and learn from them. And it's interesting on the sales side of what we do in the business. One of the ways we talk about it inside of our company is that the role of sales leaders, isn't to have the spotlight on ourselves. We actually hold the spotlight and shine it on others, and really, celebrating the achievement of our independent business owners, of our teams around the world that are working hard to provide that environment of success for our IBOs and their organizations and their customers, and take the time to be a genuine part of that celebration, to feel it and experience yourself in a way that lifts your energy, so that you have more positive energy that you're sharing with others.
I think there's a couple of really important ideas in there. And one is, it really is a two-way street. When you look at career and opportunities, you can be looking at it and say, is the company offering me the opportunities that I want? But the reverse of that is what you said, is I do think it's important to take that step back and say, am I working in a manner, am I contributing in a way that's going to put me in a good position to be offered these opportunities that I really want? And be honest with ourselves. And if we're not, then that gives us a chance to kind of change and adjust and kind of reset. The other thing that I think is really important that you said there is, even within people's roles, and even slightly outside, some kind of an opportunity adjacent, so many managers and leaders are looking for people to just pick up the ball and run with it. And I've seen so many people in my career get promoted that were willing to just kind of raise their hand and say, I'll take that on, even if it wasn't, directly under their responsibility, but take on some special project or go a little bit of the extra mile. And it really helped to put the spotlight on them in a positive sense, to really create awareness around how this individual is contributing. I think that's a really great distinction that you made there, that we do need to do kind of a hard look at ourselves every once in a while and kind of a gut check and say, look, there's probably more I could be doing to be given these great opportunities for growth and development.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I've seen from a couple of really talented leaders in our organization is they create a dynamic on their team where they actually get people from other employees across the organization that want to come be a part of that team, almost on like a part-time basis, in addition to their regular job, because they recognize the opportunity they're going to have to develop. And for the leaders that create that environment, all of a sudden they have a team of 5 doing the work of 10. And they also have an environment where people are growing and developing, not just because of what the leader is doing, but because of the dynamic in the team and how people are learning and developing from their peers as well. And certainly that's something that we've seen in our field organizations, but it's also a dynamic that if we stay entrepreneurial enough inside of our companies, if we're agile enough in the way in which we approach getting work done and solving problems, then recruiting great employees into your team and whatever function that is, a lot of that work is being done by how you operate every day, how people see that, and how they're drawn to wanting to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Being entrepreneurial, but yet also formalizing the process to attract that talent. So it does send the signal internally in the organization that this is a team of high achievers. This is a team you want to be on, where there is that opportunity for growth and development. I think that's really smart to formalize that process to bring that talent on.
Definitely. It's and part of what's been so fun for me in the last 5 years or so, Wayne, is I've learned so much from sort of the next generation of leadership in the company, from the newer managers and directors that are 10 and 20 years younger than me, and this idea of kind of reverse mentorship, it's real, and if we're willing to adapt and learn and not just listen, but actually observe, I think we can be more effective leaders by creating the space for leadership styles that are different than our own. And, if I could use this as just a kind of a plug for how critical diversity and inclusion is, both as being the right thing to do, but also the positive impact that it creates in our companies and our businesses. It's requiring change, but frankly, it's change that is needed to make our businesses better, and something that I know is something we all benefit from as we move our businesses forward.
Absolutely. Such an important concept there. I do think we all can do much better in our companies. And I think that as you just kind of mentioned, it helps the companies as well. When you were talking, the other note I wrote down that kind of goes along with this is when you mentioned kind of getting out in the field and spending time with a distributor. And the more we have the opportunity to gain new and different perspectives, new and different experiences from our own, the better we become, the better decisions we're going to make, the better products we're going to introduce, the more we're going to be able to relate to our customers here kind of in the home market as well as around the world. Too often, I think sitting in kind of HQ, we can kind of get into a little bit of a bubble, and getting out of that bubble is getting into the field and getting with more people and getting more perspectives than our own. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Wayne. You know, the phrase that we often use at Amway is that the best ideas aren't going to come out of a conference room in Ada. They're going to come out of the market. They're going to come out of an IBO's experience in the field. And if we're there to observe it, to hear about it, to participate in it, that's where I feel like this idea of the entrepreneurial partnership that we share with our IBOs. If we're actively participating in that, it's more than a soundbite. It's actually how we operate and how we work. It adds so much because we truly learn the things that are value add and the things that are not. And I think that's the biggest challenge, as a larger company that we face, is identifying the work that we think is important, but it really isn't driving value for our customers, for our IBOs, for their customers. It's actually just something we've been doing or something we think is helpful because of a business process we've had in the past. And so much of what I'm spending time focused on right now is what are the processes we have in place in our business that we could eliminate to make the experience that our IBOs have simpler and free them up in a way that makes their entrepreneurial experience better. And it's a challenge for someone like me that's been in our company for as long as I have, because I carry some of this forward with me in a way that I really need others to challenge me that don't bring that legacy thinking forward. And that's why I think it's so important for all of us to continue to look to new and evolving companies in the marketplace and look at how they're operating and really look then back at our businesses and how we operate to question the things that we think we have to do that maybe we don't.
Absolutely. Both those comments about listening to our IBOs and our customers, as well as this kind of idea of focus, kind of dovetail into this concept around choice. I mean, so many of us experience friction. We think we want choice. We think we want options. But what we really want are fewer options, but just more confidence in those options. And so as a company, our efforts are always there to try to improve the experience. And oftentimes that's additive. We try to add something, layer something onto a program or a strategy that we already have. But some of the most successful is when you start peeling back and getting back to the basics. One of my really close friends was a brand manager at Nike, and he said that one of their main sayings was edit to amplify. That they always said, when you kind of pulled things away, your actual message, your actual strategy is going to come through louder and more clearly. So that's something that I've always kind of told myself as I, take on a new role or a new project, not just what can we do, what we need to add, but what can we pull away to make this more successful, more focused and stronger. And kind of with that idea of focus, you're over a company that has, hundreds of products. You're in more than 100 markets around the world. With a portfolio of that breadth and a company of that scale, how have you been able to maintain focus around the positioning of who Amway is, that brand promise that you offer, and kind of carve out that unique spot, not only in the market, but in the mind of your IBOs and customers to compete?
Yeah, it's a great question, Wayne, and frankly, it's one that we're really focused on right now. I mean, how do we create more simplicity in our business? Edit to amplify. That's a very powerful concept. And it's one that as we've looked at our product portfolio, we've recognized that it's been too broad. And we actually have, in fact, done that with our portfolio in the US and certain parts of the world as well, where I think we went too far. We diluted the brand promise over time because we tried to do too many things. And I think it became, in some cases, a distraction internally. But the point you made is really the critical point. The moment that we start to create confusion among our IBOs, that's really a problem in our business, as you and I both know. And so as we even think about our core promise of helping people live better, healthier lives, ensuring that we have that connection between the promise of our business opportunity, the promise of our portfolio, and how they work together has been critical. And we look at this, whether it's across markets and geographies, or whether it's in how we support IBO leaders and engage with them in a way that creates the support they need, the simplicity that new IBOs need in particular, and creates an environment where the marketplace looks at our company, our brands, and most importantly, our IBOs, and recognizes this is what I can count on Amway for. I can count on them for an experience and product that is going to actually solve this problem in my life or add this value to my life. I think the dynamic that I think we all maybe even over discuss inside our companies or our industry, is what leads and what follows between the opportunity versus the portfolio. And I think it's the wrong question, because at the end of the day, they're so intertwined that if consumers are getting from our businesses what we're promising and what they need, and we have designed our experiences in a way that in fact amplifies the value that our IBOs deliver, that leads to their success, which then leads to our company's success as well. That was kind of the simplest message I ever heard about what makes our business and our model work. It came from Rich DeVos early in my career, where he said, if we're working with and supporting our IBOs in a way that is allowing them to be successful and succeeding with their customers, then everything's going to work out just fine at the company. As long as we stay anchored in IBO success and customer satisfaction, we'll be sure that things work out at the company. But as long as we're clear and focused on what that looks like, then things are going to go well.
I love being able to kind of boil down an internal person's purpose, internal meaning employee, to something that simple and that clear. It's a great anchor and platform to build off of there. So shifting into kind of a little bit more a question that's going to incorporate some of the personal side. So we've already talked about the number of markets that you're in. Really, the sun never sets on an Amway market. They're always coming online or coming offline, depending on where they are. And essentially, you could be working 24 hours a day. I mean, there's never a shortage of calls or meetings that you could probably be doing. However, it's also important to try to keep that work-life balance, or maybe now more realistically, we're using the term work-life integration. You've operated at such a high level and have had such huge demands placed on you from a professional standpoint. How have you been able to carve out time from the family front, or kind of compartmentalize work and home life? What have you seen that's actually worked for you?
Yeah. It's really an ongoing journey, Wayne. And there are certain things for me that I have been, fairly transparent about. I think that's an important part of this as well. Is for me, I've tried to be clear about those family times and experiences that I'm not willing to negotiate away. That I am going to kind of stand firm on, this is a priority, and this is something that I learned this over time too. It's not just I need to be with my family, like my family needs me or my children need me, but this is selfish too. I want that. Sure. I'm not just, it's not like I'm just saying, hey, my kids need me or my wife needs me, so I'm going to, devote this time to it. But be transparent about the fact that this is something that's important to me. And so those are all things that I think when others in the organization, primarily other employees, when they recognize that that's an important part of, my experience or, other leaders at Amway, that's a part of who we are, that we want them to ensure that they're creating the right balance in their life. And I think part of what's so hard about that is that it really falls on each of us individually. I sometimes I joke with people that, no one's going to pull you aside and say, hey, Wayne, I'm concerned that you're not using all your vacation time and spending as much time with your family, right? Those comments don't seem to happen very often in somebody's career. But I think there's an element of ensuring that people understand that for them to be the most effective leaders that they need to be for their teams, they also need to be the most balanced in terms of their lives, not just because other people are going to see it, but because it's going to make you a better leader. It's going to create an environment where you're not kind of giving off that negative energy because wherever you are, you feel guilty about where you're not. And, I think being sort of present is such an important dynamic in anyone's life, and ensuring that the time that you spend, with your family and really just maybe away from work is so critical. And also your peers and your teams at your company, understanding that when, that you personally are committed to them and their success. In the same way we talk about in our business that IBO success is really the kind of the true north for us. I think it's also so critical for employees and our teams to understand that, we feel personally vested in their success as well. And a part of their success at work is going to be in ensuring they have that right integration. And so, I think it's, I don't have sort of a master plan or a big philosophy. It's a lot of individual decisions, and ensuring that all those decisions add up to a life that creates the kind of fulfillment, with your family and with the people that we're accountable to in our businesses, that frankly, my family time makes me a better, leader at Amway. And I know that what I receive and the energy that I get from the people I work with, our IBO leaders, I think that makes me a better father and a better husband as well.
Absolutely. I love the idea of leading by example, by taking the time for yourself. That gives the employees and those around you permission to do the same. Often they're going to emulate and really reflect how you approach your work life. And so I do think there's so many times where we have the opportunity to positively impact those that we work with, our teammates, those that work on our teams, in ways that we don't even really realize. We might think by, burning the midnight oil one night to try to crank something out is the right thing to do. But there's a whole lot of people sitting, in their offices and their desks watching you and waiting for your light to turn off in your office to signal that they're able to go home. And so I do think leading by example is really important, letting employees have that permission to take time for themselves, to take times for their family. It's only going to make them healthier, better, more effective in all aspects of their life. Continually just grinding it out. Burnout's inevitable for all of us. I know we've all experienced it at times. And then it takes even longer to kind of refill our tanks, I feel like, instead of, making sure whether it's daily, weekly, but on a more frequent basis and cadence, we're able to kind of refill our tanks. And however we do that, family, friends, whatever. But we do need to lead by example. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you said it well, Wayne. I really feel strongly that, the actions we take, the examples we set are way more important than the words we speak, because people see it. And that's where genuineness of a leader comes out. And, when the old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you express interest in a colleague or a member of your team in ensuring that they in fact are getting the time that they need, and I love the phrase you use, kind of refilling your tank, because everybody needs that. And ensuring that our colleagues recognize we know the importance of that, and just by talking about that with them in the context of their lives, I think creates both an understanding that they have the permission to do that, as you said. I think it also has a strange knock-on effect of motivating people to sometimes want to work harder because they appreciate the fact that that's a part of your culture.
Absolutely. And they're more willing to do so, on those nights before a convention or some big deliverable. We've all been there burning the midnight oil late at night, the 2 or 3 nights or whatever month before convention. But so when you do infrequently say, hey, I might need you a little bit longer tonight, I've always found that people are more willing to do so when you're really understanding and liberal with them allowing their personal time and respecting their personal time and their personal lives. Anyhow, I've just seen that be much more effective. They're willing to work those nights and, at times to kind of run through brick walls than they need to. But it is, I think, all about respect and not taking advantage of that for sure.
Definitely.
Now, kind of shifting, looking forward, what do you see currently kind of that main promise or main value proposition for those joining direct selling today? What are they really looking for?
I think that there's sort of 2 dynamics at play right now that are really interesting. One is what we currently offer and how that fits with what the marketplace is looking for. And I think that's largely around sort of that convergence of the benefits of the products and brands that we offer, and how that then intersects with the community of entrepreneurs and people that are looking to improve themselves, whether that's through their health or their fitness or their personal situation, all of those things. I think there's that dynamic that we offer certain things to the marketplace today, and there is a pull towards that, and there is all of our businesses and companies adapting in the way in which we think about our businesses today. And then alongside of that, there is the constant innovation taking place in the market. And what are those ways that we are going to adapt our businesses to the changing expectations that consumers have? And how do we ensure that we make those changes that are sort of structural and longer term in nature, and we don't get distracted by the shiny thing of the moment? And as I think about, a good example of this, I think, would be in the area of social selling. So, social media is a form of community building and communication and an expression of an individual that early on, I think, by many direct selling organizations was viewed as both threat and opportunity. And I think we've gotten to a place today where the idea of how social platforms contribute to the business really largely comes down to how it contributes to the success of any individual direct seller. It's not just about the big company opportunity, it's about the individual direct seller opportunity and how that becomes something that makes the experience they have better. And back to the previous conversation we were having, creates an opportunity for them to be more efficient and simplifies what it is they do and frees them up in a way that creates a better experience for those that engage with them. And so, as I said earlier, Wayne, I really think that our entrepreneurial mindset as an industry and our willingness to adapt to those changes in the marketplace that create opportunities for us ultimately to ensure that our customers are having a better experience and our representatives are having more success. I feel like there's so much coming our way that is big opportunity, but we also have to recognize that if we aren't willing to change at certain moments in time, those could be big problems for us down the road. So we're constantly trying to balance the need for long-term success with ensuring that in the short term, we're making the right choices and the right trade-offs.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Continuing on with your ideas around social technology and social media, that has had an enormous impact, really I think in a positive way on the channel. It's really empowered our distributors to have incredible reach like they've never had before. Do you ever foresee a time where the majority of interactions in direct selling are virtual, or is that kind of face-to-face component or dynamic always going to be really vital to the success of the channel?
I think that there will always be a place and an importance for face-to-face. I also recognize that the nature of what a personal relationship has changed, with the role that social media is playing in society today. I think that that balance will adapt over time. And, at the end of the day, I'm not sure it's the same answer for each individual. One of the things that I find in our business, what's true at the company level may not be true at the market level, and it may not be true at the individual IBO level. And so I think for our business in particular, I think if we create an entrepreneurial experience that allows people that want to be all or predominantly virtual in how they build their business, we need to create that opportunity. We also recognize, though, that there's going to be others that aren't going to want it to be all, or maybe not even dominant. They may want it to be a very small part of it. And I don't think it requires us as a company to operate fundamentally differently to satisfy both of those. And so it may sound like kind of a not a real clear answer, but at the end of the day, what I think is most important is that we don't box ourselves into a version of entrepreneurship that is so specific that it doesn't create a way for people to bring their own flavor, their own personality, their own genuineness to their business. And that could be all digital, virtual, social for some, and for others that could be a smaller part of it because that's not who they are, or that's not quite where the market is at this moment in time. The old never say never. I'll be careful about that, but that's the way I see it at this moment.
Yeah, that's really great. So it's more about and, not or. It's just empowering the distributor or the IBO to build in whatever way they're going to be most effective, whatever methods, whatever tactics or platforms are going to be most suitable for them. Just giving them the ability, the power, and the choice to do that. I really love that. So looking down, another 5 or 10 years down direct selling, what excites you most about the channel right now?
It's I appreciate kind of the perspective on time frame too in that question, Wayne, because there's going to be such accelerated change in the marketplace in that time frame. When I started my career, a 5-year plan, that was a realistic, kind of longer term perspective. 5 years now, wow, that seems so far out given all the changes that we're going to see. I think what excites me the most is that the changes that are shaping the next generation of direct sellers in terms of the experience they're having in their lives, through digital, through social, through even some of what you referenced earlier around authentic, smaller, nimble brands having a leg up often on bigger brands. I think that all those things to me point towards a broader, bigger entrepreneurial marketplace. I think that we've come out of like myself, my generation, thinking about sort of this employee on one end, entrepreneur on the other, and not much real estate in between. And I think we're moving to a place in the world where a lot of people are going to be both. We're seeing that with sort of gig offerings and kind of small entrepreneurial experiences, which are more trading time for money. The idea of direct selling being an entrepreneurial experience people can have even more part-time than we've thought about in the past. We've always, largely thought about part-time on your way to something bigger. But I think there's a much larger place in the market where people don't want to be just one thing or do just one thing. And I think that creates a tremendous opportunity. While we talk about that in certain language today, gig and so forth, I think direct selling has an opportunity to take over a much larger space in that part of the economy, and really, more importantly, creating an experience in people's lives that adds value to them and is something that they want to share with others. And that fits, I think, with all the technology that's coming along, all the experiences people are having, and the way in which they engage with others, that if we continue to adapt our companies and the way in which we engage with the marketplace, I think we have an opportunity as an industry to be 10x what we are today.
That's incredible. I think that one of the things to make that a reality, one of the things that needs to be true is we as companies need to make that approach, maybe not the almost full time, or if you haven't achieved the highest sales ranks, you need to make that more even part-time, even more gig, or the fact that you're doing, many quote unquote gigs. We have to make that approach valid. We have to recognize that approach as well, and not potentially, deposition that approach as we're recognizing the success of, the people that reach the top of the ranks. I think that's really interesting and a really important consideration as we move into the future. There are so many options out there. People are doing more and more simultaneously, and we need to be able to adapt and adjust our approach, our compensation plans, and the way maybe that we recognize and do recognition as well.
Yes, recognition is such a huge component of that. The all or nothing kind of traditional mindset in direct selling is in large part because of the way in which we define success through our recognition programs. And we absolutely have an opportunity to rethink that for the future.
That's great. So is there anything as you look down that road 5 or 10 years, are there any speed bumps or red flags that concern you that companies need to look out for?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of them. I think there's ones that we can see today and ones that, we can't yet anticipate. I think the biggest red flag for us is if we become so set in our current way of thinking about what success means to individuals, we will lose sight of really what that next generation wants. I think that the power of the community and being around like-minded individuals and mentorship and personal development, those are powerful personal dynamics that are such an important ingredient in our recipe of success. And as we adapt, as you said, the way in which we recognize and reward people that have success in our business, and as we recognize that digital transformation and the power that the individual brings to the authenticity of our brands and our business, if we continue to lean into those things, I think the future is very bright. I think if we become sort of stubborn in defending how we've done it in the past, and we're not willing to look and see what the future could hold if we continue to adapt and continue to evolve our businesses, we could be in trouble. But ultimately, those things are decisions made by leaders in the industry. Those aren't things that are going to be done to us. And those areas where every time a new model or a new technology comes along, there's always people that will say, that's going to be the end of direct selling. I've been hearing that for almost 30 years. And it hasn't happened yet. But the reason it hasn't happened is because we've continued to evolve. And as long as that entrepreneurial spirit continues to drive the way in which we look to the marketplace and adapt our businesses, I think we have every right to be very optimistic.
I love that. And I love that it's within our control. So that success long-term really is within our control if we learn to adapt and adjust. I love that. So just in closing, I want to kind of rapid fire 3 just kind of more personal questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So outside of family and outside of direct selling, who inspires you?
I often look to professional athletes, especially in team sports, those individuals that make others around them better. I tend to be a college sports fan, and I particularly am inspired by coaches who are able to reinvent themselves and the way they lead. And it's not just their personalities or the playbook they've always used. I'm a Notre Dame grad, so Brian Kelly is someone that has done that. I've been really impressed with. Coach K at Duke is someone that I follow closely because he's such a great developer of people. So those are a couple of names that come to mind.
That's great. So we talked about potential burnout or the need to fill our tanks. How do you fill your tank or recharge your battery? What are some things that you do?
2 things that come to mind immediately. One is I love to be on the water. I love to stand up paddle, and just getting out on a board. Whether I'm paddling into waves or just going for a distance paddle. I kind of lose myself in nature in a way that sometimes I'm out there for 2-3 hours and I can't even hardly remember what happened. It's just kind of turning everything down. Yeah, it is. And then maybe a different version of that. I love to walk on the beach and listen to podcasts and hear new ideas from different leaders. And I listen to, a crazy variety of podcasts, yours included, that really challenge the way I think and inspire new thinking and frankly, get me to ask the people around me new questions in a way that I become better by hearing more opinions from more people, more ideas from more people, and a diversity of ideas that I think makes me better.
Absolutely. I'm a voracious podcast listener, and it is always around kind of learning, developing. I guess there's a couple entertainment ones for me, but it really is about kind of growth and development and gaining new ideas and perspectives. So finally, you've had incredible success, again, operated at the highest levels in the channel. Is there an accomplishment or pursuit, even non-business related, that's still on your list?
Oh, wow. That's still on my list.
Still on your list.
Yeah. The thing that gives me the greatest kind of pleasure professionally is being a part of a winning team. And as I think about the next chapter of my career, I'm really excited about the next generation of leaders that I see emerging inside our company and our IBOs as well. And for me, the greatest satisfaction is going to come from their growth and success, and hoping that I can be a contributor to that, not a hindrance to that. And so it pushes me, because I know I have to change to support them in the way I was supported by the people that helped me. It's really not an individual thing for me. It's more of a team dynamic, because at the end of the day, I have much more fun celebrating a team victory than an individual victory. And those are memories that, and experiences that frankly stay with me longer than anything that's more individual in nature.
I love that. And I think it speaks volumes about your character and your approach and concern for others. John, thank you so much for being here. This has been incredible. Appreciate you sharing all these great insights and wisdom. And also want to thank you for all that you've done for the channel as a great advocate and a champion for all of us over the years. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Wayne. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and it's an honor to be on it, and look forward to seeing you on down the road.
Thank you for tuning in. Since 2004, DSN has proudly served the direct selling industry and the executives that lead it. Our mission is to serve, educate, and edify the channel as your go-to daily resource for breaking global news, emerging trends, and powerful stories, so you can stay informed, engaged, and always one step ahead as it relates to the business of direct selling. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast to be the first to know when new episodes are available, visit us online, and text us at 214-239-3043 to join the new DSN VIP community.